Welcome to this eLearn Security video training lesson on exploitation via pivoting. In this video, we will see how to configure a proxy pivoting attack in order to run exploits on machines that we cannot reach from external networks. The main purpose is to test how different configurations can change the way our traffic goes through the target network. The following diagram shows the current environment configuration. Our attacker machine has this public IP address, and as we can see, it is outside of the target network. Since we're in the post-exploitation phase, we already have exploited one of the target machines. Indeed, we have a session on victim 1. Our purpose is to set up the pivoting attack in order to be able to reach and exploit victim 2, which resides in the second target subnet. As we will see during the video, we can configure the pivoting routes in order to exploit victim 2 and establish a direct connection with it. Indeed, if the subnet 10.10.11.0 can communicate with the internet, the victim 2 will contact our attacker machine through a reverse connection, and we will have a session on it. The other scenario we will see is a bit different. We will suppose that the machines in the subnet 10.10.11.0 cannot communicate with the internet, but only with the machines within the subnet 10.10.10.0. Therefore, we will have to configure the pivoting attack in order to forward all the communication through the session on victim 1. Now that we know the scenario, let's start setting up the pivoting attack. As we can see, we have a working interpreter session on victim 1. Since the goal of this video is to understand how to correctly configure the pivoting scenario, we will suppose we have a working exploit on victim 2. Indeed, we will try to access this machine via pass the hash. As you can imagine, if we run the attack with the current configuration, we will not be able to exploit the machine since we do not have any route to it. Let's prove this. First, let us check what is in the interpreter routing table by running the following command. As we can see, it's empty. Let us now select the psexec module and configure it in order to exploit the victim number 2. First, let's set the remote host with the IP address of the victim. As we've already said, we will not focus on finding a working exploit for the machine, but we already know that this module will work. So let us set the username and the password. The last thing to do is to set the payload options. Since we have a public IP address, in the first scenario, we will try to establish a direct connection with our target machine. So let's set the local host with our IP address and leave the other options as they are. Now let's try to run the module and see what happens. As we can see, the exploit fails. This happens because Metasploit doesn't know yet how to reach the target machine. Let's start configuring our pivoting environment. We will configure Metasploit and able to reach victim 2 through the session on victim 1. To do so, let's select the AutoRoute module and set its option as follows. We will set the session ID to 1, which is the session on victim 1, and then we will set the subnet we want to reach from this session. The module completes and we should have a new route in the Metasploit routing table. Here indeed we can see that all the traffic intended on the subnet 10.10.11.0 will be forwarded through session 1. Now we should be able to successfully run the previous attack. Before doing it, let us open a remote connection to victim 2 and inspect the traffic with Wireshark. This will help us understand how the attack works. Let's now run the previous attack. Of course, we don't need to change any options. As we can see, now the exploit works fine. Indeed, an interpreter session has been created by victim 2. Let's now briefly inspect the traffic on the victim. The filters we're using will help us to focus only on the attack traffic, avoiding all the RDP traffic and so on. As we can see, at the very beginning, we have all the traffic going from victim 1 to victim 2. This happens because the attack has been executed from the session on victim 1. Then, once the reverse payload is executed, we can start seeing the communications between our attacker IP address and the exploited machine. From this moment on, we have a direct connection with the victim. In other words, the commands we run on this new interpreter session will not go through victim 1. Let's prove it. Let's clean up the traffic captured so far, and let's run a command on victim 2 from the interpreter session. If we go back to the exploited machine, we can see that there's no trace of the victim 1. This proves that the machine can send the traffic over the internet, and therefore, can reach our attacker IP address. Let's take a look now at the second scenario. Let us suppose that victim number 2 can communicate only with the machines in the subnet 10.10.10.0. We'll have to configure the exploit module in order to tell Metasploit to follow all the traffic via victim 1. Before doing that, we need to add a new routing rule. We will have to instruct Metasploit to forward all the traffic intended to the subnet 10.10.10.0 via the session on victim 1. This is necessary to correctly forward all the traffic for the exploit module. So let's close the current interpreter session, then select the autoroute module and change the subnet parameter with 10.10.10.0. As we can see, we have the following two rules in the Metasploit routing table. We can now configure the exploitation module in order to tell Metasploit to forward everything from and to the interpreter session on victim 1. In order to do this, we simply need to change the localhost parameter with the IP address of victim 1. This will tell Metasploit to use it as a proxy for all the communications. Let's run the exploit and see if it works. As we can see, it seems like it's working fine. Indeed, we got a new interpreter session. Let's go back in the victim machine and check Wireshark to prove that all the traffic goes through victim 1. It seems that it's working as expected. Indeed, there is no trace that the actual machine is sending packets to our attacker IP address. If we clean the output and then run a command in this new interpreter session, we can see that once again, all the traffic goes between the two exploited machines. So even if the target machine is not able to directly communicate with our machine, we're still able to exploit it thanks to pivoting. And this concludes our video training lesson on exploitation via pivoting. Thanks for joining us.